You're feeling like you're ready to bloom, like you're just on the verge, on the precipice of being something more, of turning the page in that chapter, or heck, maybe even throwing out that book and starting a whole new one. Yet it just hasn't quite landed in this reality yet. If this is how you've been feeling, then this podcast is for you. My name's Letitia Teakle, and I am a mother, a clinical hypnotherapist, and a psychic guide. I've been through everything from divorce, becoming a single mum, to navigating the loss and grief of my son. And I'm here to help you find practical ways to move through your daily life and come out feeling as though you're just a slightly better person. Not just for the outside world, but for you to intrinsically feel like you're good, like you're going somewhere, that the days are getting brighter. This podcast is inspired from the springtime of feeling like we're in that bloom, you know, when you've got a bulb under the ground and we can't see it. We can't see it anchoring in its roots. But eventually, over time, we start to see it sprout. And that's exactly what I want to speak to today, is how sometimes all of the work that we've been doing feels freaking invisible, but I'm here to assure you that it's not. So grab yourself a cup of tea. Is there anything else that we need to know or understand more deeply about being in this in-between place of not being fully emerged yet? As we, oh, there we go. I love this card. So I've pulled number 34, which breaks down to a 7, which is transformation. And it says, in the world, not of the world. And you can see it's this beautiful, fiery, red-headed woman, and she's got this water swirling around her with all the fish. Now, what's really interesting is I can see the pine trees in the background and then this flow of water, and there's some rocks and pebbles around it, but it's just gently weaving through. And that really speaks to this idea that it's our daily flow and integration that makes the greatest changes. Water is never pushing against anything, rather it just diverts, but it continues on its path still. And I want you to think of that. Maybe there's been something that's happened recently where you're like, oh, I didn't respond the way I wanted to, or that didn't go the way I planned or anticipated. But did you still continue on your path after that hurdle, after that rock that was in the middle of your river, of your flow? Did you still manage to go around it? Yeah. And if you didn't, that's okay, because we're going to talk about how we can start navigating and integrating practical things into our life so that we can move with a little bit more grace and ease and flow within our life. A big reason for starting this podcast was to merge the intuition with the practical guidance. I'm a Pisces rising and a Virgo sun, anchoring the heaven into the earth. And that is what I've spent the last 7-8 years doing within my personal practice, is helping women how to really stand in their own power. Is there anything else from this card? Let's have a look. I'm going to look at the book and see if there's anything else that sparks. 34. The first line. It is safe for you to become naked with life. This doesn't necessarily mean stripping off and running wild in public, but it does mean stripping back your beliefs, your strongholds, and your mental or emotional security blankets so that you can live with less obstruction than ever before. And how interesting, because those rocks were the things that stood out the most. Learning how to move through our obstacles, and to be honest, the biggest obstacles that we tend to have is our own mindset, is our own inner beliefs, and that's exactly what we're going to be breaking down episode by episode as we move throughout this series. It also comes with a message that sometimes we need our defenses, and at other times we've outgrown them. Likewise, you're being stripped of your internal beliefs that are failing you. Right. So you are being guided to trust yourself. With all of that coming through, what I can see within my mind's eye is again that bulb, that hard outer shell of protection, if you will. And a lot of the time that can be our environment, is what I'm hearing. They're like, yeah, environment, bring that into this as well. We aren't able to grow and flourish if we are not in the right environment. So this has something to do with you breaking out of your shell, but by placing yourself where you're meant to be. And for a lot of you, I'm getting the sense that you're already where you're supposed to be, or that you're transplanting yourself into somewhere else that you're supposed to be. And these defenses, these coping mechanisms, they're already starting to fall away. The bloom is actually already happening, and you might be like, yeah, but I just want to be in that place already. I want to be standing there with my beautiful flower shown to the world, right? That sounded a little bit crass, but you get the idea. When that flower has fully blossomed and you can see it and it's so beautiful, like you're waiting to be recognized within your power, almost like you're waiting to be seen and acknowledged. But let's pull that back a few layers. When we go back to the root of the beginning of this message, of feeling like you're almost in bloom, if you could strip away all of the things around you, where would you want to be planted? Now, this may be physically, it may not be. But what would you like to be doing? What would you like your external environment to feel like? Because without that safety, you're not going to be able to flourish. Now again, this does become internal. We come back to that bowl. Yes, the outer part matters. But in saying that, I was in the backyard just before recording this, which is where it was inspired, and I noticed that my chickens have scratched up one of these bulbs that was in the ground, but it was still starting to sprout. It was still starting to grow, even though it wasn't in the soil. Now we could look at this in both ways, that as much as your environment does matter, it also doesn't, because it comes from within you, your ability to sprout and grow. The second thing is that sometimes it's going to feel like you're misplaced, or that you're on its side, that you're on your side, and that the world isn't quite where you want it to be, but you're still able to continue growing. For a lot of us, we wait until we've got the perfect conditions, the perfect things around us until we can flourish. But I want to bring it back to that core of you, your beliefs. That's the power, that's the source that's going to be able to make you bloom. With this bulb that I found, I picked it up and I went and planted it next to a beautiful fruit tree, and I placed it back into the ground. And it seemed so happy nestled in there. So again, what is it that you would want to change? Where is it that you would want to be planted if you could? If you were that bulb and you found it laying on the ground, where would you pick it up and place it? Is it somewhere warm and alone? Is it nestled in amongst others? Does it need a community? Does it just need some tender love? Now, in your mind's eye, imagine that you're holding that bulb between your hands. What are the words or the wisdom that you would like to implant into it? What energy and frequency is it that you would want to place into this bulb so that no matter where it went, it could still thrive? Does it need to remember that it is growing bit by bit, even if the outside world can't see it yet? Because remember, everything happens within the bulb before we even start to see the shoots emerge. It's grounding in its roots, making sure it feels safe and stable. Does it need to feel confident in starting to reach out into the unknown, bursting past the hard exterior? And as you allow these thoughts just to gently flow into your mind, effortlessly so, you can almost feel that pulsation throughout your own heart, like a remembering or a awakening to your own soul. And now, again, within your mind's eye, planting that seed somewhere. Maybe it's in a really beautiful pot or in the garden somewhere. No matter where it is, just seeing how it feels once you've planted that seed. Does it start growing immediately? Does it just nestle in and feel cozy and safe? And then know that whatever it is exactly what's right for you. This is one of the trip line that catches so many of us. Once we've done this little bit of work, we expect it to just suddenly flourish, for that reality, that next stage within our life, for us to be in that full bloom. And unfortunately, it doesn't tend to happen that way. Sometimes it's a really slow burn. Sometimes it takes a while, much like a fruit tree. It takes a little while to establish before it can bear really decent fruit. The first few years, it's just establishing its roots. So maybe, even if you've been doing the work for even quite a while, you've been establishing your roots, your stability and foundation within yourself. You've been working on your daily habits and practical ways of being. Because until we really nail those, the really big quantum jumps into being that full bloom don't tend to happen, because we're still wavering within the everyday life. It's almost like knocking the bulb every day and its roots dislodge, so it can't really grow, because then it has to re-anchor. So where are you on your journey? Have you really been establishing decent practices within your daily life and knowing how to manage your emotions, those emotional hiccups, the tumultuous parts of the day? And maybe you don't get all of them right, but has there been some growth? Even just a little bit? Like you've kicked the needle 1%, 2%, 3% over the years, then that's still growth. So you're still working, you're still blooming. So maybe right now you're really deeply anchored, and the next step for your full bloom is to allow yourself to step outside of your comfort zone. And that for you might look like taking a walk around the block, but you go a different way. Or perhaps you try new food or new restaurant, or maybe it's showing up and doing the podcast, right? But whatever it may be, whatever that next incremental step is for you, know that it is important on your journey. I'm going to pull a second card and see if there's anything else that we're needing to know right now. On the bottom of the deck was bringing it into form. That's the next action step that's missing. Now, I apologize, I do live on a main road. I'm going to try my best to edit out the audio, and I currently have lost my mic. So we're doing this despite the external conditions. We're doing this anyway. Right, is there anything else that we need to know about this full bloom? Spirals of manifestation, yeah, perfect. Ooh. Is that for one person in particular or a collective, or is there more to know? Oh, beautiful. Okay, I see the storyline. Right, so the first one that I got was spirals of manifestation, and on the bottom corner here, there's this circle. It almost looks like a seed sprouting to me. It's like a little mandala type thing. Spirals of manifestation. What you're calling in is there. It's almost like it's waiting for you to grab that thread, that line. It's like I don't know what you'd call it, but I heard once that, you know, this guy kept calling out to God, and he was like, God, I want to win the lotto. God, I want to win the lotto. And then he dies and he goes up to heaven and he's like, God, why didn't I win the lotto? He's like, you never bought a ticket. You're being asked to grab onto this thread and start following it step by step. Now, imagine this thread of light, this, whether it's, yeah, I'm seeing silver, the silver light, but then there's all this fog in front of you, and you can only really see this little bit of the line. You can kind of see it a little bit further, but not far. The rest is kind of foggy. But you're going to start moving with it, and you're going to notice that the more that you move, the fog will clear for that section, almost like when you're driving in the car on a foggy day. Once you get to that next step, it's no longer foggy in that section. That's what's really important here, to manifest whatever this next bloom of season is for you. Now, the second one that came out was Diving for Light. It's number 11. Oh, so the other one's number 18, which breaks down to a 9. So we've got 9, 11, because they kind of came out around the same time, and I selected them, which is different. Diving for Light. This is you feeling like you're in that shell, you're in that cocoon, you're in that egg. I don't know if diving, no, they're saying, yeah, diving's the right word. It's going to feel like you're digging deep, that you're diving deep, but that's what's going to allow you to bloom and sprout. It's almost like you're going down within the core essence of you, gathering all of this, not just confidence, but this being, like you are it. It is you. That is what this Diving for Light card represents, is this going within and really anchoring in all what that you are, all of this authenticity that's been waiting to be born, but you're no longer afraid or scared of it. It's just there. That's what the next step is as well. And the last one was Restore and Replenish, and you can see her curled up there. Again, she's kind of nestled into her own little sphere. There's still a lot of inner work going on, they're showing me the thread again. They're like, yeah, there's still inner work going on, but you got to keep following that thread. And think of the bulb. The bulb is literally taking all that it has within it, all of that internal inner knowledge that just is, but yet it's starting to follow the thread. It's starting to move up towards the sunlight, that thread of light. And eventually, once it's done that for long enough, it does get to come into full flower. That's your journey at the moment. And I hope that this is really, really landed for you. So what are some practical steps so that you can really start moving this in? Number one would be, I love journaling. If you're not a journaler, I apologize. What do you feel like your next micro little step is within your sphere of what you can see right now? Because remember, this is what we can see, that little thread. We might not see the rest of the picture, but we can get a sense or see a part of it. Maybe it's putting yourself to bed at a decent bedtime, because without that, you're not able to really function properly throughout your day-to-day life. That is another thing that's been coming up in the back of my mind here, is the day-to-day things, and I know I've mentioned it a bit. So think about it, just one small daily thing. We're not going to hit them all at once. One small daily thing that you can do to make yourself a little bit more enriched. All right, this is changing your outer environment, your soil, for you to thrive in. 2, they're showing me the weeds around. Now, they don't necessarily have to affect you, but if they are affecting you in your growth, if their roots and their beliefs, their woundings and the way that they stand within the world are affecting your ability to bloom and blossom, do they need to be removed? Or do you need to transplant yourself a little bit in a different space? And number 3, I've created a guided hypnosis session where you're going to get to feel into your inner strength. So if you would like that, I'm going to pop it in the link below. Otherwise, you can look me up on Letitia Tickle and follow the links there as well. But tapping into this real inner power within yourself again and again and again is also what's really going to help lead you home. You know what? I'm going to pair that with a freebie. I'm going to do 2 in 1. And that is the morning guided meditation. I think it goes for like 5 or 7 minutes, where you are cooling things out. So the manifestation threads of light, because doing those 2 together will be super potent in you aligning yourself daily, you coming back to yourself daily, which is the other thing. So let's throw in a 4th one here, is that you're going to take a few small moments, whether it's in the morning, the afternoon, at bedtime, or preferably all 3, doesn't need to be long, where you just take a minute to tune into you. The practice that I teach all of my one-on-one clients is taking a breath in through the nose and then feeling it anchoring down through your body. Now, when you do that, it's not just a breath. I want you to actually visualize or see within your mind's eye, or get a sense of the fact that you're pulling yourself or your soul back in. So breathing in, pulling all of those fragments of light of you back into your body, and then feeling it anchoring all the way down back into you. Just checking in. How do I feel right now? Is there anything that I need right now? Have I remembered to water and feed myself today? Now, if you have a smartwatch, maybe put an alarm to just buzz a little bit if you're really busy. Or hold the intention that just from now, just from being in the atmosphere, from hearing it, it's already in your subconscious that, yeah, I'm going to start checking in on myself a little bit more. Okay? A lot of the work that we do, and this is one of my favorite things to also remind people that I'm working with, is the work's already happening. I'm going to use the bulb for example. Just like that bulb doesn't have to think about growing and blossoming and blooming. It actually always is. It innately knows what it's doing, how it's growing. I mean, it doesn't necessarily know how it's growing, but it just is growing. The change is happening. And that's the same for you. So when you put yourself in these spheres of having little pebbles of little bits of knowledge and wisdom reignited within your subconscious back into your soul, that the shift is already happening. You don't necessarily need to think about it. Have a really beautiful rest of your day whenever you're listening to this, and I hope to catch you for the next episode. Remember to subscribe so that you don't miss any soulful nuggets of truth. And I'm looking forward to the next one.